Hello and welcome to 6 Paths. Today I am gonna tell you about what if Naruto faked his own death, part 2. If you enjoy the video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss future parts, then subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notification. Now let's begin. Next day morning. Sochi. Masumi. Wake up, it's time to eat. Kushina yelled from the kitchen. Upstairs, Naruto in Natsumi's bedroom. Naruto woke up from the yelling that his mother made. Seriously, couldn't she just come and shake us awake? Naruto thought. He rubbed his eyes very slowly since he didn't have energy. After all, he had just woken up, so it was natural. After rubbing his eyes slowly, he sat there looking at his surroundings while thinking of last night. Naruto had already made up his choice, and it was for the good of his family, so he had to do it. He would always protect them to make sure they don't suffer. He would. Naruto looked to his right and saw Natsumi sleeping peacefully, like nothing mattered, and was in her own little world of imagination. He would miss seeing her like this. Natsumi-chan, wake up, Naruto said softly. Natsumi stirred for a little while but soon opened her eyes and saw that Naruto was looking at her. She smiled happily. Oni-chan. Natsumi greeted happily. Morning, Nei-chan, he greeted back. Hurry and get ready, Ka-san already called us, he said. Natsumi nodded and quickly got out of her pajamas. She looked at Naruto and saw that he was already done. He was just waiting for her. She nodded to him to tell him that she was ready. They started to walk out of the room and head to the kitchen, where they were sure that their Ka-san had already made the food and she was just waiting for them to come down so she could start. When they got there, they were right. Kushina was sitting there all alone with 3 plates on the table, 1 for her and 2 for them. The food on the plates looked delicious, obviously since they woke up, but nonetheless the way their Ka-san made it was delicious. They moved forward and sat down on the table ready to eat. But first. Good morning, Ka-chan. Natsumi said excitedly as always. Good morning, Ka-san, Naruto said with a smile. Kushina smiled warmly at them. Good morning, Masumi, Sochi. After saying that, then they could start eating it, since would be rude not to greet them first. They ate happily. Of course Naruto was more happier, but they didn't notice. For Naruto, well, he seemed peaceful. This whole scene was basically beautiful. His mom, sister and him eating like a family should, without worrying about anything else. He knew he would miss this, all because of this village, he thought. His thoughts were broken when he heard his mother talking. You guys better hurry and finish, if not then you won't get to see who is coming today. Kushina said. That piqued their interests. Who? They both said at the same time. The ones who are coming today are, is. Kushina pauses as the twins lean over. A surprise, she finally said. Both faceful. How could their mother do that? Kushina just laughs seeing their faces. Growls Ka-san, that is not funny. Natsumi said enraged. Naruto just nods. As for Kushina, well, she just laughed even more. She went on for 3 minutes laughing while the other 2 just grumbled about how unfair their Ka-san was being, or she is being mean again. Kushina eventually calmed down. Okay, but seriously, it's a surprise, so hurry up and get ready. By the time you finish they should be here, Kushina said. Naruto and Natsumi eventually finished their breakfast and got up to get ready, though they were still wondered who was it. Kushina grabbed the dishes and started washing them with a smirk on her face, hoping they would enjoy their surprise. Minus 25 minutes later. The twins took their bath and got all dressed up. Naruto was dressed in a black shirt with a red Uzumaki swirl on the back and black cargo pants. His spiky red hair pointing in every direction. Natsumi was dressed in a knee-length, purple dress that covered all of her body with sleeves to her elbows. Her blood-red hair reaching her shoulders. The both of them started walking downstairs slowly. They couldn't wait to see who it was that was coming to the house. Natsumi and Naruto finally appeared downstairs, and who they saw surprised them. There on the table with their mom was Kurenai Yuhi, Anko Mitarashi, Yugao Azuki, Hana Inuzuka, Sume Inuzuka. Makoto Uchiha with her was her son, Itachi Uchiha, and her 4-year-old Satsuki Uchiha. They were surprised, mostly Natsumi, seeing she hadn't seen her Oni-chans, both her mother figures and her best friend, in a long time. Well, if you consider 3 weeks a long time. Naruto, well, he was kind of surprised. He was only happy because now, instead spending time with his mom and sister, he could spend time with those he cared about. He unconsciously grinned. Nei-chans. Sume Oba. Makoto Oba. Satsuki-chan. Itachi Aniki, Natsumi yelled happily. Said people turned their heads towards the loud-mouthed girl that yelled their names and her brother, who didn't say anything but was just grinning happily in seeing them. Natsumi-chan. Naruto-kun. They all said happily they just loved the twins so much. Natsumi rocketed towards them and immediately started hugging them like if she hadn't seen them in years, the girls each returning the hug and Itachi giving her a hug too. Naruto, he just came slowly to them and gave a hug to each one of them like Natsumi did, though he did see little blush on each and every one of them, except Itachi, who controlled his emotions, with Satsuki being a little more red, but he just went on like he saw nothing. After that was done, they each settled down. "So Natsumi-chan, Naruto-kun, how have you guys been?" Anko asked. "We're good, but everything is boring without you guys here," Natsumi said, whined. They all just giggled. Natsumi was always like this. Naruto just agrees with her. "Well, we couldn't be here because we're busy, you know, some of us have missions to do, clan things and other things," Makoto said. "Okay. I forgive you guys. For now. Just don't forget us again, okay?" Natsumi said sternly. "Don't worry, Natsumi, we won't," Hana said. "Naruto-kun, you've been quiet all this time, why?" Sume asked. She had seen he had been quiet this whole time they were talking, only observing them. Naruto was about to respond, but someone else beat him to it. "Maybe he's just too shy to talk," Anko said teasingly, while the others agreed. But Naruto wasn't going to let that go by. "No, it was just fun seeing 6 adults and a teenager get lectured by my Imouto, who is only 4 years old," Naruto said, snickering. Satsuki, Natsumi and Kushina were also snicker. It was just funny seeing the others blush from embarrassment. "Okay, you got us there, Naruto-kun," Yugao said. They all stayed silent for a couple before Kushina spoke up. "Masumi, why don't you take Satsuki-chan, Itachi-chan, and Sochi out to play?" Kushina said. Why? "I want to spend more time with Oni-chans, and my Oba-chans," Natsumi complained. "They just got here, she wanted to spend more time with them." "Don't worry, Natsumi-chan, once we finish talking to Sensei we will go and play with you guys, okay?" Kurenai said with a warm smile, the others agreeing with her. Natsumi complied even though she didn't want to, but did. She grabbed Satsuki's and Naruto's hand and started walking outside while Itachi just followed them. Once they were outside, Natsumi, Satsuki, and Itachi started playing ninja with Itachi, while Naruto sat on the doorstep just watching them and at the same time hearing what his Ka-san and the others were talking about. Kushina and the others. Once the kids were out of sight, Kushina turned to the others with a serious face, telling them that it was time to get down to business. "So how many so far?" Anko said, breaking the ice. "None so far, which is rare because they always arrived the first day of the week," Kushina said, wondering at the same time why haven't they come. "Yeah, that is weird," Makoto said. She worried for the twins and Kushina. "But don't let your guard down, they could come anytime," she warned. Of course, why would I? Kushina said. No reason, it's just that for the past 4 years they would always come the first day, so you would never know when they might show up, Sume said. I know, Buddha, can I tell you guys something? Kushina asked. Of course sensei, you could tell us anything, Hana said curiously. I've been feeling something about 2 weeks ago, Kushina said, a bit worried. They could hear how worried she was. What's wrong sensei, are you sick? Yugao said, worried. No, it's just a feeling like something is going to happen. Something bad, Kushina said. You too, huh? A voice said. They turned around and saw the third Hokage behind them looking at them. Gigi, you're here. Kushina exclaimed happily at seeing her surrogate grandfather figure. She was about to go hug him when she remembered what he said. Wait, what do you mean, you too? She questioned. What I meant was that I too was. I'm feeling what you are feeling, Hiruzen said. I am with you on this one sensei, said 2 voices. They turned around and saw Tsunade with her apprentice Shizune and Jiraiya right behind Hiruzen. So I guess we are not the only ones, Kushina said. You got that right, Tsunade said. They all stayed silent for a couple of minutes. Hey look, I know you guys have this feeling, but come on, right now we have an objective to complete, we can't be moping around trying to figure this out, Anko said bluntly. The other just nod, they knew what that object was, and that was to protect Naruto and Natsumi from any harm. You guys are right, we'll figure this out later. Right now we have to protect my Sochi and Masumi, Kushina said with determination in her eyes. They all twins right now were more important, they loved them too much so they didn't want them to get hurt. With that said, they adults all went back over to Natsumi, Naruto, Satsuki, and Itachi. Natsumi, Naruto, Satsuki, and Itachi, a few minutes earlier. Naruto, hearing everything he needed to, went back to his sister and enjoy the time he had with her. Oni-chan, finally you come and play. Natsumi says happily. Sorry Imouto, you know, since we just ate I didn't want to get a cramp, lied Naruto. Natsumi nodded, accepting the lie, and started playing again with her best friend, who somehow had a little red on her face, her best friend's brother, and her brother. Minutes later, after the adults came back to where the children were playing, they saw Itachi chasing Naruto, Satsuki, and Natsumi, all of whom were having fun. They were though a little surprised of Naruto, mostly because he was a more cool-headed than Kushina and Natsumi, but they just figured it must be because he was still a little kid. All the adults stayed there the doorstep watching them as the kids had fun for a couple of minutes. As for the kids, well, after their little game they saw that the adults had finished talking and were just standing on the doorstep watching them have their fun, so they decided on something. Ka-chan, Oba-chans, Aro-senin, Gigi, Nei-chans, come play with us. Natsumi exclaimed happily. The more the merrier, and that way she could spend more time with her Oba-chans and Nei-chans. With Naruto thinking the same thing, he would at least spend the time he has left with those precious to him. As for the adults that were on the doorstep, well, they gladly accepted Natsumi's invitation. So what are we playing, Natsumi-chan? Sume asked. Natsumi went into a thinking pose. Then she thought of one, hide and seek. She exclaimed happily. The children and adults each nodded. It was an easy game, well, at least for the adults, I mean they kids, and they are high-skilled shinobi, so how hard could it be to find little kids? They each had no idea what they had each gotten themselves into. 6 hours later. 6 hours of hell is what the so-called high-skilled shinobi would call it. Inside the once beautiful house of the Uzumaki family clan was now a wreck. The game of hide and seek, a simple game that is not that hard to play, turned into something chaotic. The adults had thought that kids with no training in the arts of stealth and traps, well, besides Itachi, but was just starting, would be easy to find, but unfortunately what they believed had turned into a nightmare. They who were more skilled in those two arts couldn't find even one of them, not one, but they were the ones who accepted the invitation, so might as well go with the game and finish it. And at last, when everything seemed lost, they found them, and where you might ask, well, in a place that was so obvious, but haven't thought of Wasa, the damn fucking attic. But alas, all good things must come to an end, and so it was time for the visiting adult and kids to leave to their homes and for the Uzumaki family to go to sleep. By Natsumi-chan, Naruto-kun, Kushina-chan, Sensei, the adults waved from the gate as it opened. By Natsumi, Naruto, Itachi, and Satsuki said, also waving back to the family. By come again, the Uzumaki redheads said, waving goodbye to their friend and family. With their goodbyes said, the visitors, family-like figures went past the gate to their homes, and as for the Uzumakis, they went back inside to their home to get some shut-eye. Kushina, Natsumi, and Naruto each started to get ready for bed. They took their baths, brushed their teeth, and finally got into their PJs. The twins were about to enter their room when their Ka-chan-san stopped them. Sochi, Masumi, could you guys sleep with me tonight? Kushina asked. Demanded, but you could hear worry and love in there, although you couldn't hear it, but Naruto did and instantly knew why. Sure, Ka-chan, Naruto said with a smile. Natsumi nodding slowly because of her sleepiness. Kushina just smiled happily and went to her room with the twins behind her. She was afraid in leaving them alone when an assassin could come and attack them out of the blue, and he hadn't come the first day, so it was you had to keep your guard up at all times. Once entering the room, they quickly got into bed, wanting to go to sleep since they were all exhausted from playing all day. Kushina was in the middle with Natsumi and Naruto by her sides snuggling with her. For Naruto this was peaceful with nothing to worry about, things seemed right. This is the way things should. Buddha, all beautiful things must come to an end, now. Day before Naruto leaves night. Kushina once again is sitting on top of the rooftop of the Uzumaki home as she usually did for the whole week every night after Naruto and Natsumi went to sleep. She would come keep to ease her mind off of one thing. The feeling that she has on something bad going to happen. Her feeling started getting worse and worse day by day, and today was the worst of them all. She felt pain in her heart just like someone had stabbed her through it. She really didn't like this feeling, she just wished the pain went away for good, not wanting to feel it again. After the twins fell asleep tonight, she came up here and started thinking of tomorrow, hoping that it would a better day like the whole week had been, but every time she thought of tomorrow her feeling would increase even more. Thinking of the whole week, she remembered how fun it had been. Mebuki and her daughter Sakura had come over to visit with the twins, playing along Sakura and Kushina with Mebuki, talking. Hitomi and her daughter Hinata had also come to visit like Mebuki and Sakura, but with Hinata getting shy around Naruto every time, though nonetheless the kids still had fun. Sume and her son came to visit with Kiba, Natsumi, and Naruto getting along very fine. Yoshino came with her husband and son to check and see how they were, even though Shikamaru slept in his mother's lap the whole time. Mrs. Yamanaka and Inoichi came to visit with little Ino by their side, even though later on started to cling onto Naruto much to Natsumi's irk, but besides that they got along fine. Mrs. Akamichi along with Choza and Choji came to visit the family with Natsumi and Naruto taking a liking to Choji due to his friendly nature. Shibi and his son Shino had also visited, though it was a bit weird since they rarely talk, but nonetheless was a great visit. The whole week was just great. Her kids seemed more happier and was sure that their bonds with everybody was stronger than ever, that it would be hard for it just to break. Still though, she wondered what was this horrible feeling. She got up and started walking back to her room where her children were. I just hope that nothing bad happens, she whispers. With Naruto 15 minutes earlier. Naruto had woken up due to hearing something coming out from the ground. He turned around and saw Zetsu staring at him. "Naruto-sama, Madara-sama still wants to know if you are going to leave and come with us?" Zetsu spoke getting straight to the point. "Sigh, as much as it pains me, yes I am going," Naruto said. Zetsu nods before speaking. "Madara-sama also wanted you to know what exactly is going to happen tomorrow," Zetsu says and sees Naruto nod, telling him to continue. Zetsu goes to Naruto and starts whispering the plan into his ear. Naruto, once hearing the plan, had a crestfallen face. He loved his family and friend too much to hurt them, but this was for their protection even if it broke them. "Okay," Naruto said. "Good, now I sense your mother coming, so go back to your bed, we will pick you up tomorrow," Zetsu said as he started sinking back into the ground. Naruto quickly goes back to bed while thinking of all the good things that had happened throughout the week. The bonds he made with everybody grew wider than before. It's just things aren't like a fairy tale where things never go wrong in this world. With one mistake thing can go horribly wrong. After a few minutes, Kushina came back to see that Naruto and Natsumi still sleeping without care in the world. She loved seeing this. Their souls are so pure now, but come outside the compound walls things can change them that could make them corrupted. She didn't want that, she wanted them to stay like children forever. It's just things would never go as you want it to go. She laid in between her two favorite twins right now, loving the position she was in. "Good night Sochi. Masumi, I love you both," she said, kissing both of them on the forehead. Unknown to her, Naruto was awake. "I love you to Ka-chan," he thought. With that they went to sleep, with it being the last they would ever be together until in the far future. Next morning. Sunlight shone through the window. Waking up Naruto from his sleep, since he was closer to the window the sunlight reached him first. Naruto opened his slowly due to him waking up early in the morning, and sunlight didn't help, it just made him angry that the sun disturbed him from his sleep. He stood up and looked around the room slowly until his eyes landed on two figures. His Ka-chan and his Imouto, who were sleeping peacefully. This scene was so beautiful. The moment didn't last longer due to remembering what today was. Today was the day that he would leave his Ka-chan, Imouto, his friends, and those precious to him. He had to do it, there was no other choice. He would grow stronger to protect them instead of them protecting him. He didn't like to feel weak, he loved them too much to see them get hurt. He once again looked at his Ka-chan and Imouto. Naruto only had two things on his mind. "I am sorry," and "I love you." "Ka-chan, Natsumi-chan, wake up," he said with a smile. He started shaking them. Until the time was right, every second counted, and he wasn't going to let a single one go. He will be with them. Kushina started to stir due to Naruto shaking her. She opened her eyes and saw Naruto awake looking at her, and Natsumi, who was also stirring. She was confused as to why her son was smiling. He usually woke up with a neutral face due to waking him up early, but this was new to her. She shrugged it off. This week was full of surprises, so maybe this was also a surprise. "Good morning Sochi, sleep well?" Kushina said warmly. "Yep, I had the best dream," he said, smiling. "I'm glad. Now wake up your sister so we can get started on breakfast," Kushina said, standing up and going downstairs. Naruto nods and looks back at his sister. "Imouto, wake up," Naruto said, shaking her. 5 more minutes," she said, half asleep and half awake. "Oh well, I guess I'll have to eat all the ramen," Naruto said, knowing this would wake her up. And just like he said, she quickly rose up with wide eyes and a face full of horror. "Never." She looked around and noticed Naruto laughing. She quickly got angry knowing she had just been tricked. Growl, "Oni-chan, why did you do that?" "I was having a nice dream," she said angrily. Laughs asterisk because it's laugh funny and because Ka-chan told me to wake you up so we could go eat breakfast, he said. Natsumi, even though still mad, nodded. The both of them went to take a shower to wake them up fully. With that said, they each stayed there for 15 minutes enjoying the fresh water while also cleaning themselves. Afterwards they got out fully clothed and fully awake. Sochi, Masumi, breakfast is ready. They heard their mother call. The twins started walking downstairs towards the kitchen. They could smell the food as they were going down, and by the smell of it then it would surely taste delicious. Soon they entered the kitchen where the table was set. The plates were full with food that looked very delicious, and there on one of the seats was their mother waiting for them as always to show up so that they could eat together as a family. Sochi, Masumi, finally you're here. A couple of more minutes and the food would have gotten cold, Kushina said. Natsumi scratches the back of his head with a sheepish smile on his face. Sorry Ka-chan, but when we were taking a shower I guess we lost track of time, she said. Kushina nods. Okay, now hurry up and eat you too, she says. The twins rush to their seats, not wasting a single second to start devouring their food. Kushina just smiles. She loved seeing that her children just loved her food. She also started to eat, not wanting to be left behind. While eating they talked about what they were going to do for the day. Natsumi said she was going to play in the front lawn with the flowers for 2 hours at least before their friends showed up. Kushina, after washing the dishes, was going to go and play with Natsumi. And Naruto, well, he said that he had found a book in the shelves, while also saying it had only pictures and no words, and was going to figure out what it meant or what the book was saying. After they finished their breakfast they went to do their routines. Natsumi went outside in the front lawn of the compound. The sun was shining brightly, the air outside was warm, not being too cold and too hot but warm. The flowers outside that their Ka-chan had planted bloomed, that made the whole scene beautiful. Basically the whole scene was perfect for a child or adult to play in and relax. Kushina, after washing the dishes, was going to go and play with Natsumi. The day was perfect and she wanted to relax from all the stress, the horrible feeling she had got to her. Naruto went to go read, but also on the other hand was waiting until it was dark for the plan to work. So he had to do something until the time came, and what other way than meditating. -9 hours later, rather not spend time telling what happens. All of their friends came to visit them as they did like the rest of the week. Makoto, Satsuki, and Itachi had come. Mebuki and Sakura had come. Inoichi, Mrs. Yamanaka, and their daughter had come to visit while also closing down their flower shop for the day. Anko, Kurenai, and Yugao had also come to visit. Sume, Hana, and Kiba had come to visit. Yoshino, Shikaku, who was forced to come, and Shikamaru had come. Choza, his wife, and Shoji had come to visit. Hitomi and Hinata had come to visit. Tsunade, Shizune, Jiraiya, and the third Hokage had come. Now why might a lot of people come to visit, you might ask? Why, it was both the twins' birthday. Even though Natsumi didn't know it, Naruto did. Naruto had come down to play and spend time with them for 5 hours that is until he went back to his room sorry that he was tired and wanted to sleep for a bit. -2.5 hours later, 30 minutes before the plan starts. Naruto was sitting in his and Natsumi's room meditating, trying to control his chakra more. Then a noise of something coming out of the ground came to his ears. He turned around and saw Zetsu. Zetsu. Is it time? Naruto asked and saw Zetsu shake his head. No, Naruto-sama, the plan starts in 30 minutes. We just came here to tell you that this is your last chance to turn back, Zetsu said. I already had made my choice Zetsu and I am not going to turn back no matter what Naruto said and sees Zetsu nod. Is everything in place? Naruto asked. Hi Naruto-sama, Zetsu said as he snaps his fingers and a white Zetsu come up from the ground. Then the white Zetsu started to transform into it completely transformed into Naruto exactly like Naruto. Same nose, face, hair, height, etc. He is just like me, but won't people find out it's not the real me due to our different chakras? Naruto asked. No Naruto-sama, this clone is exactly like you along with the chakras being the same that even the Nidaime wouldn't be able to tell the difference, Zetsu said. I see ya, Naruto said astonished by what he was told. If that is all Naruto-sama, I must take my leave, though we will come back in 15 minutes to pick you up. With that said, he sunk back into the ground. Naruto stood sitting in his meditative pose. The time had come. To leave the ones who you cared about you and them to you was a very difficult thing. He had grown attached to them more thought this week, besides the fact he had known them since he was born. His mother, sister, and his friends were all people he would miss, but this was something that couldn't be avoidable. He had made his choice and there was no turning back. He waited for his family and friends to tell Natsumi to come up here to get him so that they could get ready to surprise him when he came down. And right as he said, Natsumi came in. Oni-chan Ka-chan said to come downstairs. Natsumi exclaimed happily, why wouldn't she be? Everyone she loved and cared for was at their home for the very first time. They usually come separately at different days, but this time they came together. Hi, Naruto said as he stood up from his meditative pose. He and Natsumi started to walk downstairs towards the front yard where their mother and friends were, but what Natsumi missed was the tear that fell down from Naruto's eye. Once arriving there, they noticed that everyone was gone and it was all dark, confusing Natsumi, though Naruto already knew that this was going to happen, so he just went along with it. Thina. Surprise. All of their friends and Ka-chan yelled. Lights light up, showing the front yard full of balloons that were tied to the ground, tables full of snacks, candy and other treats, and in one of the tables was a big cake that said, Happy Birthday Naruto and Natsumi. Natsumi was greatly surprised by this. She didn't know that it was both her and her brother's birthday, and well, as for Naruto, he just acted surprised, but in the inside he was smiling. Oh, my little twins are growing up so fast. Kushina exclaimed as she ran forward and glumped the twins. The others then noticed that they started turning blue. Kushina-chan, you might want to let go, Hiruzen said. Kushina looked at him, in which he pointed to the twins. She instantly let go with a sheepish smile on her face. Oops, sorry, she said. After the twins caught their breath, they went on with the party. Everybody was enjoying the party. Naruto and Natsumi played with the others' children and the adults once they finished with their conversations. They all played the different games they had. Okay, Natsumi-chan. Naruto-kun, it's time to cut the cake, Makoto said. The children and some adults had stopped what they were doing and went towards Makoto and the others that were around her. Natsumi and Naruto were behind the table with the kids around while the adults stood in front of them waiting to take a picture of the twins once they get their faces shoved into the cake. Okay, Sochi, Masumi, take a bite off the cake. 1, 2, 3. Kushina said. Naruto and Natsumi were about to take a bite off the cake when a splat. Their faces were shoved into the cake. Both of their faces covered with frosting from the cake. Click asterisk click asterisk click, camera clicking noises were going off. The adults were taking pictures of the twins and their funny faces. Soon enough after the twins got their faces cleaned, they started to cut the cake. Tsunade, the one cutting the cake, made sure everybody got not too small and not too big but the right amount of cake. If the children wanted seconds, then they would get some. There was enough to fill a family of 50. -30 minutes later. Everybody finished their pieces of cake, with some getting second, even thirds. Choji cough. Children started playing again. And adults conversating amongst each other. Then it finally came time. Picture time. The adults called over the kids. And the kids, well, they just complied even though they complained about it. Okay, now say cheese. Shizune said. The first picture had the third Hokage, in the middle, Naruto, on the left, and Natsumi, on the right. The second had Mebuki, behind the twins, with Naruto and Natsumi in the front, and Sakura, next to Naruto. The third had Anko, middle, Naruto, left, and Natsumi, right. The fourth had Kurenai, middle, Naruto, left, and Natsumi, right. The fifth had Yugao, middle, Naruto, left, and Natsumi, right. The sixth had Sume, middle, Naruto, left, Kiba, next to Naruto, and Natsumi, right, Hana, next to Natsumi. The seventh had Hitomi, next to Naruto, left, Natsumi, right, and Hinata, next to Natsumi. The eighth had Tsunade, behind Naruto, left, Natsumi, right, and Shizune, behind Natsumi. The ninth had Yoshino and Shikaku, behind Naruto and Natsumi, left, Natsumi, right, and Shikamaru, next to Naruto. The 10th had Choza and his wife, next to Naruto and Natsumi, left, Natsumi, right, and Choji, middle. The 11th had Inoichi and Mrs. Yamanaka, next to Naruto and Natsumi, left, Natsumi, right, and Ino, middle. The 12th had Jiraiya, behind Naruto and Natsumi, left, and Natsumi, right. The 13th had Makoto, behind the twins, Naruto, left, Natsumi, right, Satsuki, next to Naruto with a slight blush, and Itachi, next to Natsumi. The 14th had everybody on it. The last one had Kushina, behind the twins hugging them, Naruto, left, and Natsumi, right. Each picture was taken 3 times in case any one of them lost the picture. And during the last one, after 2 pictures were taken, they were about to take the last picture until Naruto stopped them. Wait. I forgot something important, Naruto said, commencing the plan. What is it, Sochi? Kushina asked. It's a drawing I made that will be great with the picture, Naruto said, and while it was true he did make a drawing, it was also a part of the plan. Oh, okay. Go get it, Kushina said. Naruto nodded and went into the house to get the drawing. He went fast, but not as fast where he was in a rush. With every step he took he started to remember all the fun and loving times he had with his family and friends. So many memories came, and so did tears. As the others saw Naruto go into the house, they waiting patiently for him to come back, but also made a small conversation in the meantime. 10 minutes passed and people started to worry, he should have been back by now. Maybe I should go check on him, Kushina said with a worried voice. The others nodded in agreement. Kushina started walking towards the house to get her son, wanting to see what was keeping him so long until a boom was heard, and so were shouts. Naruto-kun, Sochi, Oni-chan. Everyone yelled. With Naruto 10 minutes earlier. Naruto walked into his room slowly. He looked around the room, wanting his mind to have a picture of it. This was where he slept with his sister. Where she would sleep with him, cuddle with him, and basically hug him like as she were afraid to let go. He went to his and his sister's closet. One side had his sister's clothes, in which she had many brightly colored clothes ranging from bright red to bright green, showing that she had a bright personality. And on the other side was his clothes, in which had many dark colored and a bit of normal colored clothes ranging from black to dark blue and some normal colors like white, and red, showing that he wasn't too brightly like Natsumi but had a normal personality. Naruto started grabbing all his clothes from the closet and started putting them in a scroll. Remember, sealing scrolls need chakra for a ninja to put in and put out their things. As he was doing this, every cloth he touched, he remembered what memories he had with each one of them. The memories made him break into tears. Each memory had the loving times he had with his family. They were too much for him to take, but this was a thing he had to do. The whole thing took him 5 minutes due to him crying, but got to packing his clothes nonetheless. After finishing and wiping away his tears, he started hearing something come out of the ground. He saw that it was Zetsu coming out of the ground. "Are you ready, Naruto-sama?" Zetsu asked, getting quick to point, not bothering to say, "Are you okay, Naruto-sama?" Or, "Everything is fine, Naruto-sama." "Hey, is everything set?" Naruto asked, wanting to make sure everything was right and nothing went wrong. "Hi," Zetsu answered. A Zetsu clone came out of the ground before transforming into Naruto. He had a paper with him which he assumed was the letter. He then heard the clone say, "Kai," in which the room changed. There were many explosive tags in the room. There was an explosive tag in each corner of the room, the bed, closet, and there was one on the floor 3 feet away from the clone. "I see," Naruto said, still impressed by how everything was set. "So when exactly do they explode?" Going back to the explosive. "They will explode in about 3 minutes, Naruto-sama," Zetsu said. "So it will be better if we start leaving before they explode. We wouldn't want you to actually die," Zetsu said, not wanting to face Madara's wrath if the boy came back dead. "Oh." He scratched the back of his head and had a sheepish smile. "Sorry, I forgot," he said as he went to Zetsu and grabbed onto him. Then both him and Zetsu started sinking into the ground, ready to go to Madara's lair to start his training. Leaving the Zetsu clone behind with the explosive tags with him in the letter. A minute later. Boom. Naruto-kun, Sochi, Oni-chan. The Zetsu clone heard. With the others. Kushina, Natsumi and the others ran inside the house, going towards Naruto's room. They could hope that they would reach Naruto so that they could heal his injuries fast. They all quickly ran upstairs and quickly reached Naruto's room. The smash the door open, cough, Tsunade cough. And what they saw was horrifying. The room had fire around some places due to the explosion. The bed, the closet, the clothes were all burning. There was a huge hole in the wall that had the window on it, but now isn't there. And the most horrifying thing was Naruto. Naruto lay on the right side of the room. His face was pale and all bloody, and his clothes were burned. Naruto had one thing on his chest in which looked as if it was a drawing. He looked as if he was very sleepy, which sent them into panic. They rushed towards Naruto. "Sochi!" Kushina yelled, going down on her knees, putting his head on her lap while also starting to cry. "Keika-chan?" Cough, Naruto said as he coughed up blood. "Keika-chan, wyd does my body hurt?" Naruto said weakly. "Don't worry, Sochi hick, Tsunade is gonna heal you so it hick won't hurt anymore," Kushina said, crying. Tsunade quickly got down on her knees and started healing Naruto, ignoring her fear of blood. While healing Naruto, she noticed something. Kushina, his injuries are too severe, and he has lost too much blood already," Tsunade said, as she saw Kushina, Natsumi, Makoto, Satsuki, Itachi, Jiraiya, Hiruzen, and the others get a fearful face. I don't think I can save him, Kushina," she said as tears started falling down her face. Why did it have to happen again? Why must someone she care about always die? It looked like as if even when they didn't have the necklace they still died. Kushina shook her head frantically. No, do something to save my Sochi. I don't care what it is, just do it, she yelled. Kushina, Jiraiya said sadly. She can't, he said. Kushina was about to yell at them until Naruto's voice stopped her. K-Ka-chan if feel sleepy, he said weakly. Kushina had a face full of horror. No, Sochi D, don't fall asleep, she said with tears running down her face. The others started crying. K-Ka-chan see, can you see if you like the D drawing I am made? He asked Kushina. Kushina shakily grabbed the picture and looked at it. And what she saw made her cry even more. On the drawing it had a drawing of her, Natsumi, and Naruto together holding hands with badly written letter on top that you could barely read, but she managed to know what it said. It said, the best family I could hope for and love. Natsumi went to her mother wanting to see what it was that made her cry more. When she saw the picture she also started to cry, and while she didn't get what the words said, she understood what the drawings of her mother, and her brother meant. The others, also curious, went to see. They each were touched dearly. This child of only 5 years old had a pure heart full of warmth in which was now about to be extinguished. Why would someone want to destroy a happy family by killing a mother's child, the most horrible way to hurt a family? I love it's Sochi, Kushina said. Naruto smiled weakly, thank you. Naruto paused a bit before started talking. Hey Gigi. Naruto called out, and seeing the third nod he continued, Arrow Senin. He saw Jiraiya nod. See, can you G guys make sure the Ka-chan and Imouto D don't cry when I fall asleep, he said. They nodded, though they wondered if he knew what was going on or what was going to happen to him. You are not going to fall asleep, Sochi, you hear me? Kushina yelled. Naruto chuckled weakly. Sorry Ka-chan, guess I will have Ka to D disobey you J just this once, he said as he slowly started to close his eyes. Sochi. Kushina said frantically. Good night Ka-chan. Imouto I love you, with those last 3 words said, Naruto closed his eyes. Sochi. Kushina started to shake Naruto. Sochi. She shaked him even more to see if he would open his eyes, but didn't. Sochi. She yelled one last time. And when she saw that he didn't move she started crying. Her son, her own blood, her little man wouldn't open his eyes. Everybody had tears running down their faces. Children were crying, the women were sobbing, the men were silent, but they had tears running down their faces. That was when a certain letter came down from above. It had come down slowly so that they would be able to notice the note, and it did. Everybody stopped their crying for a bit but were still sniffing and looked at the note. It's Sahida. You should never let your guard down. Many were shocked, and why may you ask? Well, it was because they all thought that the assassination attempts had finally stopped, and there was nothing to worry about, but they were wrong, and because of that someone they loved paid the price. Anger fueled up in their systems and were about to go hunt whoever did this, but they couldn't, they were too busy weeping over Naruto. The son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze, brother of Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze, godson to Jiraiya of the Sannin and Tsunade Senju, had closed his eyes to sleep eternally. This was the day that Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze died. With the real Naruto. Naruto and Zetsu arrived in Madara's lair in mere seconds. They saw that Madara was sitting in his throne alone. Madara looked as if he was in deep concentration, very very deep concentration, because if he wasn't then he would have noticed that the two had shown up. Cough Madara-sama, Zetsu called out. Madara snapped out of his thinking and looked to who called him and saw Zetsu with Naruto, who was smiling. Ah, I see you've returned Zetsu, Naruto, Madara said with a smile. Zetsu nodded and Naruto wella. Hi Gigi. Naruto said excitedly as he ran towards Madara and gave him a hug in which Madara gladly returned. "Hello Naruto-kun," Madara greeted the little redhead. After a minute of hugging, Zetsu made his presence known. "Madara-sama, the plan went successfully as planned," Zetsu said. Madara nodded with a smile still on his face, being happy that his plan didn't fail even though he knew it wouldn't, but it still was good to hear that everything went right. "Good. Now before we go anywhere else," Madara paused and looked at Naruto. "Are you sure you're going to be okay, Naruto-kun?" "Being without your family, I mean," Madara asked the redhead. Naruto's smile dropped a bit. I know it might take me a while before I get used to it, but I'll be okay," Naruto said. "Besides, I'm doing this for them. I came here to train and I am not letting that training go to waste," Naruto said with determination in his eyes. Madara smiled at his grandson. Speaking of training, Madara's smile turned devilish. "Get ready for 7 years of hell, Naruto-kun," he said with his smile never leaving his face. Naruto, even though he was scared on how much torture this training was going to be, still had determination in his eyes. This was all for them. "I will endure any pain just to make sure they are safe." First year of training. The first year of training was hell of Naruto. Due to having the Kyuubi sealed inside of him and being part of the Uzumaki clan, Naruto had chakra reserves of high Jonin. But that was what made the training hell. Day in, day out, Naruto had to learn to control his chakra. From tree climbing, which Madara made out of Mokuton, leaf concentration, and water walking, in which he actually went outside but not without Zetsu. Sure, he would get breaks but for only 30 minutes before going back to work, and as for food, well, that was brought to him by Zetsu, though they were only nutritional. Things went on like that every day for 1 month straight. The moment he woke up, he started the chakra control exercises, that is until night fell and it was time fall asleep. He was determined nonetheless. He would remind himself of his goal every time he would fail. There was his goal in the fact that he wouldn't back down until he got the result that he wanted, no matter the cost, in which his grandfather would always say that it was his Uchiha pride within him. Although his determination almost fell one day. And what was it that made his determination fall, you ask? The thing that made him almost lose his determination was the day of Hisa's funeral. Flashback. Naruto was walking on water on a medium pace since he already had half control over his chakra. If you looked at his face, you could clearly see the concentration that he had on the exercise. He was so concentrated that he didn't notice Zetsu come from the ground behind him on the ground until it was too late. "Naruto-sama," Zetsu called out. Naruto, not expecting Zetsu, was surprised and turned around, but doing this he lost concentration. He fell into the water. Once getting out of the water, he glared at Zetsu. "Growl, Zetsu, how many times do I have to tell not to do that?" Naruto yelled at Zetsu. Zetsu wasn't affected by the yelling, so he just responded plainly, "Never have you told me, Naruto-sama," he said. Naruto got confused. "I didn't?" he asked, and saw Zetsu shake his head left and right, saying no. "Well, don't do it again," he said. Once calming down, he looked at Zetsu confusingly. "By the way, why did you come here?" Naruto asked. "I have come to inform you that your funeral is going to happen in a few minutes," Zetsu said. Naruto was surprised a bit. "Wow, so it's happening now, huh?" "Time really flew by quickly," Naruto said. Zetsu merely said nothing but agreed with Naruto. Time really did fly by. They stayed silent for a mere second before something popped into Naruto's head. "Wait, is the reason you're telling me this is because Gigi said I could go?" "Can I go?" Naruto asked. "Hi, Madara-sama said that you could go, but we will have to be encasing you with one of our clones' body, Naruto-sama," Zetsu said. Naruto nodded. He would get to see them again, but would have to stay away from them. It made him sad but had to endure it. "Hi," Naruto said. A Zetsu clone came out from the ground and started walking towards Naruto. The clone soon started encasing Naruto, like Obito. He was soon ready and two started to sink into the ground like Zetsu did. Uzumaki Compound. Naruto inside the body of Zetsu arrived right on top the edge of the compound walls. He looked around until his eyes landed on where he was going to be buried. Everybody he knew was there: his Ka-chan, Imouto, Makoto, Satsuki, Itachi, etc. They were all dressed in black clothes, properly dressed for a funeral. They each had solemn faces showing how sad they were. Soon the funeral started and the temperature grew depressing. One by one everyone started speaking about him. From what they loved about him, the fun times they had with him, to how they were going to miss him. Many of the women by the end of their speech were crying. The men had tears in their eyes. And the children were sobbing. Soon came his mother and sister. His mother talked on about his birth. Her moments with him. How he was always calm no matter how loud she got, in which he chuckled and so did the others. How lovable he was. And how she shouldn't have let guard down and let him go into the house. Then came his sister, in which she talked about he was her best friend. When she felt lonely he would always be there for her. How he always treated her and her mother like princesses, always doing what he can to make them happy. Her fun times. The pranks he and she did on their Ka-chan. How no matter annoying she was, he was still there. And finally how she wished he could still be alive. By the end of their speeches both of them were sobbing. They ran to their friends for comfort. Naruto from the edge looked at the scene. He was heartbroken. He left to train to protect them from any harm, but yet he was the one who was causing them harm. Naruto wanted to go down there to tell them he was alright, he was alive, but he knew that they wouldn't believe him. He was dead now. How can he continue knowing that his mother, sister and precious people are hurt? Was all this faking his death all worth it? Was he even worth of being the son of Kushina Uzumaki and brother of Natsumi Uzumaki? Was he even worth of being a Uzumaki? Uzumaki put their family first rather than anything else. They loved their family more rather than hurt them. And yet he was now hurting them. Naruto left the Uzumaki compound not wanting to see any more of the heartbreaking scene. He had a lot of thinking to do and a lot of choices to make. End of flashback. It had taken Madara to take him out of his depressing mood. Blah blah, rather not explain what Madara said. He became more determined on his training and more mindful. Anyways, back to training. By the 2A1/2 month Naruto had completely mastered his chakra control. He could walk on water for 5 hours. He could sustain tree walking for a 1/2 a day. He could maintain a leaf on his forehead for a whole day. With his chakra controlled, Madara taught Naruto the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, in which increased his training even more. Naruto started learning all the elementless jutsus that he could with his Junin chakra reserves well with the help of his shadow clones. He learned all academy jutsus. Like Henge no Jutsu, transformation technique. Kawarimi no Jutsu, body switch technique. Kakoramino no Jutsu, magic cloak of invisibility technique. Nawanuke no Jutsu, rope untying technique. Anraku no Jutsu, unlocking technique. To all those of Jonin chakra level. Like Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique. Hirasuku Kasumi no Jutsu, stinging mist technique. Soshua, manipulate advancing blades. Bakuretsu Ninpo Kawara Shuriken, exploding roof tile shuriken technique. Tenku Hoku no Gyu, the art of walking on air. To master all from academic, genin, chunin, and jonin elementless jutsus had taken the rest of the year well with the help of shadow clones, if not then it would have taken more time. Second year of training. During the second year Naruto had started learning the Basi in Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, Kenjutsu, and Fuinjutsu. For Taijutsu he started learning the Interceptor Fist, of the Uchiha clan. The Whirlpool Fist, of the Uzumaki clan. The Hummingbird Style, of the Senju clan. For Ninjutsu he started learning the Basi Ina. Futon Wind Release. Kaden Fire Release. Raiden Lightning Release. Suiden Water Release. For Kenjutsu he started learning the Basi Ina. Shunken no Hagain, Flash Flood of Flying Steel. For Genjutsu he started learning the Leaf's Genjutsu. The Clouds Genjutsu. The Sands Genjutsu. As two Fuinjutsu he could do the Basi like Hia. Shikoku Fa, in, Finger Engraving Seal. Bukigora Fa, in, Arsenal Seal. Beacon Shiru, Sight Seal. That was all through the second year of training with Madara. Also, the last thing that had happened that year was the Uchiha clan massacre. That is what it would have been if Naruto didn't manage to convince his grandfather to save all those who didn't agree with the coup d'état. Basically what happened was that all those who weren't with the coup d'état were replaced with Zetsu clones who changed into those innocent people. The innocent were knocked unconscious and sealed in a scroll and would remain there until they were unsealed. Third year of training. During the third year of training many things changed. Naruto had chakra reserves of a high Anbu but low Kage. Naruto's hair grew up to where his hair was like Madara's when he was little, in which Madara liked seeing. Another thing that also changed was a bit of Naruto's hair, in which the tip ends of his red hair changed black like an Uchiha. Naruto mastered two of his taijutsu styles, being the Interceptor Fist, of the Uchiha clan. The Whirlpool Fist, of the Uzumaki clan. And as for the Hummingbird style he was halfway in mastering it. For ninjutsu he had mastered all four to the point where he could do jutsus with only one hand seals. For genjutsu he was very skilled. He had mastered all three and started learning other genjutsu like Hia. Rock Genjutsu. For Kenjutsu Naruto had completely mastered the Shunken no Hagain, Flash Flood of Flying Steel, and started learning two other Kenjutsu styles like Hia. Sobagai Deba Sentu, Close Quarters Knife Combat. Hakyoku Ken no Kata, Destruction Reaped in a Single Sweep. As for Fuinjutsu he grew from the Basi where he could now do seals like Hia. Fa Injutsu. Sanha Fa, in, Sealing Technique, 3 Directions Seal. Gogya Fa, in, 5 Elements Seal. Gogya Kyan, 5 Elements Unseal. Fa Yaha, in, Evil Sealing Method. Though with help of his shadow clones he finished his third year of training with Madara. Fourth year of training. The fourth year of his training with Madara was where it really got interesting. Naruto had mastered taijutsu styles, genjutsu, kenjutsu styles, and was a master in fuinjutsu according to Konoha, but he still kept on going. During the first 1 month of the fourth year Naruto had acquired the Sharingan with 1 tomo in each eye. The third month of the fourth year Naruto had 2 tomo on his Sharingan. And during the fourth month of the fourth year Naruto had a full matured Sharingan. Then during month 5, 6, 7 Naruto had spent his time trying to learn everything of the Sharingan, like its strengths and weaknesses, but he also had help with Madara mentoring him. Month 8, Madara had Zetsu find what he could on Minato to see if the father of his grandson had any bloodline. When Zetsu came back he told him that he didn't, but was surprised on what he found. Minato Namikaze was not just an orphan but was from a clan. Namikaze was given to him in order to protect him from enemies. Minato's name was actually Minato Senju Namikaze was the son of Hashirama Senju and a woman named Himeko Namikaze. Madara by these results quickly had Zetsu find out any information he could on Minato, even the ones that were meant to be hidden. And eventually after a week Zetsu came back with all the information that Madara needed to know. Zetsu came back with Hashirama's journal, files, and others. What Madara learned was very interesting. He had learned that while Hashirama was married with Mito Uzumaki, he was seeing another woman at the same time, her name being Himeko Namikaze. She was a fangirl of Hashirama, but not just any weak fangirl, no, she was powerful like Hashirama's brother Tobirama Senju, maybe a bit lower but still powerful. Eventually Himeko became pregnant of Hashirama's child. Hashirama was with her because of a plan he thought of. Hashirama had found some Fuinjutsu notes that Mito had and used them to his needs. He knew that only a female Uzumaki could hold down the Kyuubi and that Mito would eventually choose a heir to seal the Kyuubi in. When his child was born he used Fa, in, Body Jikanta Ketsu, seal, body time freeze. Fa, in, Body Jikanta Ketsu, seal, body time freeze. It basically froze Minato's baby body until the one Hashirama chose will remove the sealing, which this case was Danzo Shimura. The reason he froze Minato's body was so that when Mito would say she choose heir, Danzo would unseal the seal that was put on Minato, letting him grow again. The plan exactly? Put Minato and the female Uzumaki Jinchuriki together to produce powerful female Uzumaki for Konoha to use as weapons for Konoha and breeding stocks, that and to produce a powerful heir to the Senju clan. And in this case the female Uzumaki Jinchuriki was Kushina, his daughter, in which made him furious. The destruction of Uzushiogakure was as planned, the kidnapping of Kushina by those Kumo, ninja, everything. But what wasn't planned was Kushina's revival after Kyuubi's attack, in which they thought she would die. Madara smiled, was furious but happy that his daughter Hashirama's, his sons, and Danzo's plan. After reading all the information that Zetsu had brought him, he decided to let Naruto know. But when he told Naruto, Naruto was furious of what he was told Konoha would pay, with their lives every single one that betrayed the Uzumaki clan. Madara looked into Naruto's blood to see if Mokuton had passed on to him, and surprisingly it did. So that meant he also had Doden Earth Release. So Mokuton training had to come after he mastered Doden Earth Release. But mastering Doden Earth Release came easy due to his shadow clones and in the Sharingan. The whole mastering Doden Earth Release had only taken him 2 months. That was when Madara started training Naruto in Mokuton Wood Release. Naruto had made shadow clone of 100 with 50 going to sleep and 50 helping him in Mokuton Wood Release. The reason he had 50 clones going to sleep was so that once dispelling a sleeping clone he would be awake again. The whole rest of the year was spent trying to master Mokuton Wood Release. 5th year of training. Through the 5th year, Naruto was basically a combination of Madara and Hashirama when they were in their glory days. During the 5th year, Naruto had completely mastered Mokuton Wood Release to the point where he was on par with Hashirama. Through the training, Naruto had unlocked his Mangekyo Sharingan with its form being a black pupil surrounded by a 9-point star. Naruto couldn't do techniques that came with the Mangekyo, knowing that the more he used them the more his vision will fade away. Naruto had also started taking an interest in the gunbai just like Madara. So with the help of his grandfather, Naruto started learning how to master the gunbai just like his grandfather. Also Naruto was starting to learn the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, and Rasengan, Spiraling Sphere, due to Madara having Zetsu invade the Uzumaki compound and copy the techniques down so that Naruto may learn it. Naruto was now allowed to go outside. He ate clones and sent them to different parts of the 5 great nations. He sent one clone to the land of Earth to the capital and another to Iwagakure, both to live there. He sent one clone to the land of Lightning to the capital and another to Kumogakure. One clone to the land of Water to the capital and another to Kirigakure. One clone to the land of Wind to the capital and another to Sanagakure. The clones that went to the capital would do what they could to get in good terms with the daimyo. The ones who went to the villages would do what they could to get in good terms with the kage of the village. One more thing that Naruto told his clones to do was develop bonds with others in the villages. And finally Naruto created 2 clones and sent one to the land of fire and the other to Konohagakure. For the first clone he would try and get in good terms with the daimyo. As for the other, he would go to Hokage and use Koto Amatsukami on him to let him join the Anbu ranks. Replacing the old monkey's mind with the fact that if anyone noticed him and asked about him, the old man would say that he was on a long-term mission and just got back. Despite his age, he was powerful, that was why he was on a long-term mission. And things went smoothly. Another thing that he put in the old monkey's mind when he used Koto Amatsukami was that he was to be assigned to protect his sister when she came out of those compound walls. In which would be in 1 year. He was also to be assigned to protect Satsuki and Makoto, the other survivor of the Uchiha clan massacre due to unknown circumstances. That was all through the 5th year. The 6th year of training. Naruto was basically a god on Earth. Things went smoothly for Naruto. Naruto could now do ninjutsu with no hand signs. His taijutsu styles were perfect, no flaws or anything. His genjutsu were off the charts, and with his Sharingan his genjutsu was breakable. His kenjutsu styles were flawless. And as for his fuinjutsu, Naruto was basically like 5 fuinjutsu master in Uzumaki terms, but he still kept on going. Naruto had also completely mastered the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, to the point where he didn't need a kunai like Minado's 3-pronged kunai. Instead he could now do it with any shuriken and any kunai. As for the Rasengan, spiraling sphere, Naruto had been able to put all the elements into it, unlike Minato. He even took the Rasengan, spiraling sphere, to a new level, to the point where he created a lookalike to the Rasengan called the Rasenringu, spiraling ring, or Rasen ring. As for his clonisa, the one in the land of Earth's capital was almost in good terms with the daimyo. In fact, he was invited to join as one of the daimyo's personal guards. The one in Iwagakure attended the academy there and was their Rookie of the Year for a year before he graduated and became Genin, to soon become Chunin by promotion, in which got him good terms with the 3rd Tsuchikage Enoki. He had also formed bonds with his granddaughter to the point where she had gotten a crush on him. The one in the land of lightning was doing great actually. The clone was in very good terms with their daimyo. He was even one of the personal guards chosen to protect him. The one in Kumogakure attended the academy for half a year before he took the Genin exams and graduated. That was until 2 months later he was promoted a Chunin. Naruto had also made bonds with a special Jonin named Yugito, who he found out that she was the Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Nekomata. He had also made close brother bonds with the 4th Raikage, who was very muscled and very thick-headed. His brother Killer Bee, who was the Jinchuriki of the Hachibi and also a very bad rapper. Then there is Samui, who is mature, calm, and generally silent and only speaking when needed, and despite her cold attitude she was very nice to only those who she considered friends and cough crushes cough. Then was Karui, who with him got along very well due to both being redheads, and the fact that on the first day they both met he said she looked cute with her red hair, causing her to blush. Then there was Omoi, a boy who always overthought things, causing people to become annoyed, though it was always funny to see his face. The third to last person that Naruto had met in Kumo was Atsui, who has a rather hot-headed and spirited attitude and prefers attacking his enemies head-on, leaving him entirely devoid of any support at times. He has a tendency of saying the word, hot. The second to last person that Naruto had made bonds with was Darui, a guy who easygoing and mellow individual and is also evident through his lazy and languid way of speaking, oftentimes referring to things or events as being dull. And finally, the last person that Naruto had made bonds with was Mabui, the assistant of his brother A. Mabui remained calm in stressful situations and immediately completes the tasks she was given. She is also known to be very respectful. Naruto usually took her out of her job to take breaks, in which she gladly liked about him. He always thought about others than him. The one in the Land of Wind was in an OK relationship with the daimyo, not too good and yet not too bad. He had also become a personal guard to the daimyo. The one in Sanagakure also attended the academy for a bit, and like Kumogakure, he quickly took the genin exams. Not too long after, he had become chunin due to promotion. Naruto had also made bonds with Tamari no Sabaku, the oldest child of the Kazekage. She prudent, stoic, and blunt individual who is rarely afraid to speak her mind. Then there is Kankuro no Sabaku, the second child of the Kazekage, and one noticeable personality trait he displayed was an apparent dislike for children due to the fact that when they first met he was very brash towards him until they later on got along well. And then there was Gaara no Sabaku, the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi and the youngest son of the Kazekage. Gaara was emotionally withdrawn and strangely silent, as he was consumed with loathing towards everyone but himself and mother. That was before Naruto had come into his life. He had formed a brother bond with Gaara, taking Gaara out of his shell and start talking more with his sibling rather than only threatening them and ordering them around. Naruto had also fixed Gaara's seal despite the Kazecage's disapproval, but nonetheless Gaara was allowed to talk more to the Ichibi, allowed to sleep, and allowed to control his sand more. And lastly, with the Kazekage, Naruto was in a rocky relationship with him due to him fixing Gaara's seal without permission, but nonetheless was okay. The one in the Land of Water was where he had difficulty but was in good terms with the daimyo. He was up to where he could now advise the daimyo, but he was also the personal guard to the daimyo. Then the most difficult one out of all the villages was Kirigakure. It was basically war within the mist. When children were sent to the academy, those wishing to graduate had to fight to the death, and only those who survived could advance to the ranks of the ninja, in which Naruto did, basically killing his whole class with ease. Once out of the academy, they were sent to fight against those who had Kekkei Genkai. Naruto, on the other hand, didn't do none of that. Instead, he placed those who were against the ones who did have Kekkei Genkai to believe they killed them. Naruto, through within Kiri, gained the rank of Junin and was to be believed one of the best in Kiri, but he was also helping the rebels by giving info to them. Naruto quickly made a bond with Mei Terumi, the leader of the rebels. She is usually kind and peaceful, speaking well of others and attempting to avoid conflict. She is also extremely powerful kunoichi, and within 2 or 3 more years she would be at the rank of Kage. Naruto and Mei got along due to him calling her pretty when she smiled and beautiful with her red hair, making her blush a bit. She called him cute for a 10-year-old, but cuter with his red hair this time, making him blush a bit. They would always hang out when they were both not busy with work and communicated well when there was times to get serious. Then there was the clone in the Land of Fire. He got along with Fire Daimyo very fine, even better than the other daimyo, but Naruto is another grandfather figure due to his kindness. Naruto had also been invited and joined the 12 Guardian Ninja, and even though the other Guardians thought he was too young, he easily beat the crap out of them. And finally, the last one in Konoha. Naruto was one of the Anbu assigned to protect his Imouto, with the others being Inu Kakashi and Kat Yugao. From the moment she stepped out of the compound to when she was asleep, Naruto and the other Anbu had stopped many mobs from hurting Natsumi and many assassination attempts. Every time the other Anbu were on mission and he was the only one left to protect her from a mob, he would always kill the civilians not like the rest of the time and put a sleeping genjutsu on Natsumi so that when she woke it was as if it was a dream. Naruto's anger towards Konoha only increased more day by day. Through his time protecting Natsumi he noticed things. Basically a 3/4 of the shops denied her, a 3/4 of restaurants denied her except the Akamichi restaurants and small restaurant called Ramen Ichiraku, and a 3/4 of the population hated her except the ones in the red light district who actually view her as a hero rather than a monster. And then there was the academia. Many of the teachers did everything they could to try and make her fail but couldn't. She was too stubborn to give up. And eventually after many complaints from the teachers Hiruzen managed to put her in the class with those she knew in which were her friends were in. But that was where he saw changes among them that he didn't like, well actually some of them. Satsukiya, while she still liked being with Natsumi and hang out with her, she trained more and more every day. She had 2 goals in her life. One was to find her brother and kill him. Second was to find Naruto's killer and kill him to most brutal way possible. So Satsuki had chosen the path of revenge in which he didn't like but he couldn't do anything. He was dead as far as they knew. Sakura, she less confident. She didn't like the size of her forehead and because of it she was day by day being bullied. Inoa, she was basically the gossip queen of the academy and that meant if there was something good that caught her interest she would tell everybody. She was still busy as ever which meant that she hadn't changed that much. Shikamaru, he only hang out with Choji, Ino, Kiba, and Natsumi. While the others he did talk to but barely hang out with them. Choji was still that nice and humble kid that everybody knew. He had sometimes hang out with Natsumi, Shikamaru, Kiba, and Ino. He also still didn't like being called fat. Hinata, she was very timid towards anybody. She had less confidence due to the fact that her father deemed her worthless. Decrease her confidence. While she still hung out with Natsumi she didn't hang out with the others. And Kaba, he now had his dog partner like any Inuzuka when they reached that age. He was still as brash as he was when they were kids. Kiba still hang out with Hinata, Natsumi, Shikamaru, and Choji. He often play pranks with Natsumi, Choji, and Shikamaru and got into trouble with them. Many of them changed and he didn't like it one bit. They were all supposed to hang out together, not separately. They were supposed to be confident, happy, and non-revenge free. But what could he do? He was dead. That was all through the 6th year. The 7th year of training, the final year. The final year Naruto was unstoppable. He was a taijutsu master. He was a ninjutsu master towards Futon, wind release, Doden, earth release, Kaiten, fire release, Suiten, water release, Raiten, lightning release, and finally Mokuton, wood release. He was a kenjutsu master. He was basically a genjutsu master and with the Sharingan he was a genjutsu god. And in Fuinjutsu, according to Uzumaki terms he would be a Fuinjutsu god, that would be if he stopped. And then there was one thing that needed to be done. To control the Kurami's chakra. Naruto had each clone have a Hiraishin mark so that he could get there faster rather than have them come to him. And after receiving all the clones' memories he could now have a terrain for her to be in and not get bored in his mindscape. Wasn't that the agreement? In order for him to use her chakra she would need something to be busy with and not get bored or something for her to destroy so she could have fun. And Kyuubi's chakra did he get. He could now basically control about 7 taels worth of chakra without any drawbacks. Well, if had looked at his chakra with his Sharingan then he would notice but didn't. And since his training was basically finished with his grandfather he spent basically half of his day in his mind. He had basically started to have a bond with Kurami due to him always spending time with her in his mind. When she found out he was the grandson of Madara, she downright exploded and tried to kill him, that as if hadn't stopped her with the AS, which hurt her pride. He had explained to her the Madara wasn't a bad guy and the real reason in which he controlled her. Eventually she calmed down, but he knew that it would take more time for her to forgive what Madara did. They had grown closer second by second, hour by hour, and day by day. Naruto was growing into a more handsome man than any one man in Earth or universes. Sooner or later he would need to find love, or love would find him. Despite the fact that he was trained at a very young age, he still knew all about sex, seduction, and love. Even Kurami would admit she knew Naruto was more mature for his age. She admit at first she saw him as nothing but a pest, but things can change and feelings can evolve. After 6 months, eventually they were close. She enjoyed his company more since she was used to seeing him. And Naruto just enjoyed having another friend. Eventually she had shown him her human form, since she didn't want him to always look up to her when they spoke. She had long red hair that reached down to her mid-back and a pair of bangs that framed a beautiful, aristocratic face, with high cheekbones, luscious red lip, and a small nose. Her eyes were the color red and were slitted. She had rather long lashes that added to her beautiful features. She wore a red kimono that hid her rather beautiful figure, long, toned legs, wide hips with a small, firm, shapely rear that fit her 5'8" height perfectly and tapered into a lithe waist. She had a bust that fit her just as perfectly as everything else about her body did. All in all, the woman was too beautiful. At first he kept on blushing when he saw her, much to her amusement, but after a while he got used to seeing her in her human form. Kurami started to grow feelings for him, but she never admitted since they were all new to her, so she kept it to herself. Naruto, on the other hand, was still happy that he had a friend to talk to. Eventually, rest of the year came rather quickly. Throughout his time he was spending with Kurami, he was still training within his mindscape. Although he never once noticed something through his training. The more powerful he got, the weaker his grandfather's life force was getting. And right now that life force was now almost empty. That was when Naruto started noticing. Naruto knew that by the time the year ends, so will his grandfather's life. He knew that his Gigi's death will impact him hard, but he had to stay strong. He was an Uchiha elite, an Uzumaki, and a Senju. He was not weak. Naruto also knew something else. By the time his Gigi's life goes, Naruto will need to commence his plans. No one will stop him from completing Tama. No one. End of the training. Madara's lair. Madara looked over to Naruto, who was meditating on the floor. He smiled. His grandson was even more powerful than him and Hashirama. He knew that compared to Naruto now, he was not even a warm-up. Even with Hashirama, the Sannin, and all the 5 cages, they were still not compared anything to him. For Naruto, they all would be genin compared to him. Madara knew that it would be time before Naruto awoke the Rinnegan and the other 2 Kekkei Genkai that he had within him. And with all those Kekkei Genkai, Naruto would basically a force to be feared. And all of this was because of him. He had trained Naruto to be the one he is today. Madara looked up to the sky and thought, "You would be proud of him, Riza-chan." He smiled. Right now Madara felt his life force draining second by second. It would be minutes before he goes. Naruto-kun, Madara called out. Naruto, hearing his Gigi call him, went quickly towards him. "Hi Gigi," Naruto said. Madara looked straight into Naruto's eyes and spoke. "My time has come, Naruto-kun. I will soon be joining your grandmother in the afterlife," he said. Naruto, even though didn't like what he was hearing, stayed silent.
"I know you don't want me to tell you I'm leaving, but you know I have to, Naruto-kun." Madara paused. I have taught you what I know and you basically absorbed it like a sponge. You are truly a prodigy among prodigies. Madara paused. Know this, Naruto-kun, use this power that you have and do good with it. There are people who would do anything to get what you have, so be careful my boy. This world is full of darkness that can easily consume you, but I know you can show light to every darkness. Madara pauses. My final request are these, Naruto-kun. A short pause. The way I want to die, Naruto-kun, is not like this. I want to die by your hands, Naruto-kun. I would basically die by the hands of someone powerful than me, making my death an honorable death. Pause. Once Gonya, I want you to go to Uzushiogakure so that you may learn more about your Uzumaki lineage rather than only Fuinjutsu. Naruto nods. Next is that when I die, Naruto-kun, I want you take all those
that belong to me and take them with you, and I also want you take my eyes and replace them with yours so that you may finally gain the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Pause. And finally, my last wish is for you to promise me that you will protect those you care about, Naruto-kun. Protect them from any harmful things that are there in this world. Protect my daughter, your mother, Imouto, and the others that you care and love. Pause. Those are my final requests, Naruto-kun. Madara said, breathing heavily once in a while. Naruto, even though had tears running down his face, nodded. Hi Gigi, even though it pains me to do it, I will honor all your requests, Naruto said. Naruto slowly went to grab one of his kunai he had in his pouch. Slowly again he brought it up to close to Madara's heart. He looked at Madara and said his word to him. Gigi, you and I know this isn't the last time we are going to see each other, but it still pains me to do this. Naruto breaths in and starts taking again. You are my first mentor, sensei, and my grandfather. Pause. And I will always consider you as such. Pause again. I will, Gigi. No matter what, I will keep my promise because that is my Nindo way, Naruto said with determination. Thank you everything, Gigi, Naruto said. Madara smiled when he heard all those words from his grandson. With everything said, Naruto ran the kunai straight through Madara's chest and into his heart, killing him. Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha Senju had killed Madara Uchiha, the husband of Riza Uzumaki, father of Kushina Uzumaki Uchiha, and grandfather to Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha Senju and Natsumi Uzumaki Uchiha Senju. Madara nonetheless had died with a smile. Minus 15 minutes later. Naruto stayed quiet through the whole time. No words, only water droplets dropping onto the ground. He killed his Gigi. The one who made him who he is today. But he had to move on. His Gigi wouldn't want to see him like this. He was a ninja, not a crybaby. He also had promises to keep. Zetsu, Naruto called out as the plant man came out from the ground. Hi Naruto-sama, Zetsu said to his only master now. Naruto turned around and looked at Zetsu. I need you to do two things for me. Naruto held one finger up. 1. I need you to prepare for a procedure in 30 minutes. Zetsu about to speak up, so he explained, to transplant Gigi's eyes into mine. Zetsu nodded. Naruto raised another finger up. 2. Tell me where Uzushiogakure is so that I can go there once leaving here, Naruto said. Hi Naruto-sama, Zetsu said as he started sinking into the ground. Naruto went over to get Madara's stuff. He started to seal them all in his wrist except for his gunbai. He strapped Madara's gunbai to his back just like Madara used to do. Minus 30 minutes later. Naruto was in his bed waiting for Zetsu. He created a clone so he could put the original to sleep and to make sure nothing went wrong. Zetsu appeared from the ground and looked like he had a jar full of something green with him, and in the jar it had Madara's eyes in it. Zetsu looked at Naruto. Naruto-sama, while we are doing this you might feel excruciating pain while asleep, so bear with it, Naruto-sama, he said. Naruto nodded and looked at his clone. Do it, he said. The clone put a genjutsu on the original. Alright, do it Zetsu, the clone said to Zetsu. Then started the procedure for Naruto to gain the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. -1 week later. After the procedure, Zetsu had told Naruto that it would take at least 1 week so he can fully heal. And although he couldn't see, he still trained. He wasn't going to stop his training because he couldn't see, no, it just made his training more exciting. He would have to rely on his other senses to help him. The week soon came to end and Naruto removed the bandages from his eyes. He opened his eyes to reveal his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Madara's M's now combined with his. The image of it was a pupil surrounded by Madara's M's shape that was connected to the 9-pointed star. Check profile. Zetsu, Naruto called out and said, "Plant Man came out from the ground." "Report," he said. Zetsu nodded. "Naruto-sama, from what we have found out about Uzushiogakure is that it is located on an island off of the coast of the Land of Fire. Before its destruction, the village seemed to have been composed of several high-rise buildings. A wide river seemingly ran through the village and was gapped by large bridges. The surrounding countryside was dominated by steep hills. But now the buildings are torn down, bridges are gone, and the whole village is nothing but a ghost town," Zetsu said. Naruto looked down solemnly. His family's village was gone. Innocent families gone. Then Naruto remembered what Madara told him. It was all because of Konoha. They let his home country die without no remorse, even though they were supposed to be allies. They were supposed to protect them. And Konoha had the decency to put his clan's symbol on their Junin vest like they are still allies. No. He wasn't going to let that be. They destroyed his home and killed families that were innocent, so he was going to do the same. The Uzumaki clan will be avenged one way or another. Naruto's M's started spinning wildly. "Zetsu, let's go," Naruto said. "Konoha's time will come eventually, but right now we have a village to rebuild," he said. Uzushiogakure will return. Naruto was now walking of the coast of the Land of Fire. He was wearing a standard Uchiha outfit. A black shirt with a high collar left slightly open and the clan's crest on its back, with black pants and bandages around his shins. He also wore on top a crimson armor with numerous metal plates, forming protective guards along his chest, waist, shoulders and thighs. On his back he had Madara's Ganabi strapped to his back. His hair was to waist length with shoulder-length bangs framing the sides of his face, covering most of his right eye. Right now he was talking to the boatman. "Can you or can you not take me there?" Naruto asked the boatman with narrowed eyes. "Look kid, that island is nothing but a ghost town. I don't know why you would want to go there, and besides, even if I did I wouldn't be able to get past the whirlpools that surround it," the boatman said. Naruto sighs. He starts adding chakra to his eyes. With his Sharingan he whispers, "Sharingan, Genjutsu." The man stiffens. "Hi Naruto-sama," he says. Naruto steps into the boat as the boatman goes to start the engine of the boat. "Soon I'll see my Ka-chan's home country," Naruto says under his breath, "and I'll bring it back to its former glory." The whole ride to Uzushiogakure was about 1 hour and a 1/2. And while they were close to it, they couldn't get through. The boatman was right, there were whirlpools surrounding the island. He took a few minutes to see the island from where he was, and still he could see how bad the island was. Naruto went to the front. He started to draw a seal faster than anyone could see. 5 seconds later he was done. He pointed the seal towards the whirlpools and said, "Rongu Enkan Kaiyuan, long-distance absorption seal." The whirlpools soon started to flow towards the seal. And within a few minutes the whirlpools were gone. He looked towards the boatman who was still under his genjutsu and nodded, telling him to move forward. They went towards Uzushiogakure. The boat soon on shore. Naruto hopped off the boat. From the moment you stepped on the shore you could feel the dreadness that the island had. He looked around. The plants looked dead, and the trees looked as if they were dying. He was going to fix this and it will be better than ever. Naruto turned to the boatman and said, "Release," dispelling the genjutsu. The boatman looked around to see where he was and soon spotted Naruto. "You. What did you do to me? And where are we?" he yelled. Naruto just sighed and responded, "I put you under a genjutsu since you didn't want to comply with me, and as to where we are, we're at Uzushiogakure," Naruto said. The boatman quickly looked around and saw that Naruto was right. But how? The whole island was protected by whirlpools, so how were they here? He was about to talk when Naruto beat him to it. "Look, I know you have a lot of questions, but I just don't feel like answering them," Naruto said and saw the man get angered. "If you don't leave within the next minute or so, I will release the whirlpools inside the seal, not allowing you to go back home," Naruto threatened. The boatman nodded frantically. He started to turn the engine on again. And once on he started to drive as fast as he could, so he wouldn't want to be there when the whirlpools got released. Those whirlpools caused many deaths of so many people, and he didn't want to be a part of those dead people. Once the man was gone, Naruto looked back to Uzushiogakure. He started walking forward. He needed to find the entrance. It took about 1 hour to find the entrance. Naruto stood in front of a giant gate doors. They had the Uzumaki swirl on the front. He inspected the gates more and noticed the seals on it, making the gates look as if they weren't going to fall down anytime soon. Uzumaki seals were probably throughout the whole village. He walked forward and pushed the gate doors open. The scent of decay and death came to his noses. Naruto covered his nose. He really didn't want to smell this. To smell the death of his family. To smell the decayed flesh of his family. He stayed in his spot for a couple of minutes trying to get used to the smell. Once doing so, he started walking forward to the streets to see how much destruction was caused in the home of his clan. Other side of Uzushiogakure. "Gigi," said a woman with a beautiful face. She had a slender, but feminine build, fair skin, blue eyes, long bright red hair with a side fringe. She had wavy hair. She had white pants and a yellow kimono on her with a fishnet underneath. An elderly man with long, white hair, mustache, and a squared-off goatee. He also wore blue samurai armor. Under that, he wore a long-sleeved, black outfit, the shoulders of which bore the crest of Uzushiogakure. On his back were curved handles of 2 swords that are bandaged up. He also wore a forehead protector with the Uzushiogakure symbol etched into it. He turned to the woman. "I know," he said. Never did he think that they would show up again. They came once and killed his family, well, almost killed, and he let them do it again. Question is, why now? And how? Why are they coming now when they could have come sooner? And how did they know there were still some survivors? "Konami, come with me, but hide yourself," the old man paused. "Also bring your katana and sealing kit just in case," he said. The now identified Konami nodded. She ran off to get her things. Moments later she appeared, but instead of her kimono she wore the same thing as the old man, her katana strapped on her back and had a sealing kit on her hands. "Are you ready, Konami?" he asked. "These people might be stronger foes than me or may be weaker, but don't let your guard down. The slightest mistake can be an advantage for them," he said. Konami closed her eyes and breathed in air. When she opened them you could see the determination in her eyes. "Hi Ashina Gigi, even though I haven't had any opponents but you, I will protect my home," she said. Asina nodded. "Let's go," he said. Both started running towards the intruder. They will protect what many protected. They will not let this village be used for anything. And they won't let the intruder get what he was looking for. Any means necessary needed to stop them. Naruto. Naruto was walking down the streets of Uzushiogakure. Everywhere he looked he saw corpses of many of his family. Some were even the corpses of children aging from newborns to 9-year-olds. The whole scene was heartbreaking. Why would anybody do this? So many innocent children and families all dead. While he didn't like to see innocent people dead, he could see that they had fought with honor. Many of them had katanas, tanta-s, and ninja-s. Many had other corpses that had different headbands of other villages with them, meaning they had fought and killed many. They didn't hide and let the enemy find them. No, they fought to protect their home. While he was looking at the corpses in the village, he didn't notice that two people were looking at him from far. Naruto then heard something coming out from the ground and turned around to see it was Zetsu. "What have you found?" Naruto asked Zetsu. "Nothing, it's like they are all sealed away. There are no scrolls, books, even jewelry. Everything is gone," Zetsu said. Naruto sighed. "I guess I was right," Naruto said, and saw that Zetsu looked confused. Either the remaining Uzumaki took what they could and went on to find a new home. The villages that attacked got their hand on some of the stuff here and took it with them. Or they are all sealed away due to them not wanting others to get their hand on the stuff," Naruto said. "What are you going to do? Are you going to go retrieve them?" Zetsu asked. Naruto nodded. "Yes, I am. But first I need you to find where they are all sealed so that I can get them," Naruto said to Zetsu. Zetsu nodded. He had a mission to do, but just as he was to sink back into the ground, a kunai swirled past him and Naruto. Kanami and Ashina a few minutes earlier. Ashina and Kanami arrived to where the intruder was. What they saw shocked them. There in front of them was a red-headed kid that had to be at least 11 to 13 years old. Though that wasn't what shocked them. No, it was when a plant-like man came out from the ground. "Gigi, what is that?" Kanami asked. Ashina just looked at her uncertain. "I honestly don't know. I haven't seen anything like that," he said. "What do you think they are doing her, especially that kid? Isn't he a little too young to be alone?" Kanami asked. "How was this kid here all alone, especially without his parent or guardians, unless that plant-like man is his guardian?" "Just keep hearing," Ashina said. Kanami just nodded. When they heard what the plant-like man said about other Uzumaki, they were thrilled. There were others alive. The Uzumaki clan didn't die off. But when they heard the last thing the kid said, they narrowed their eyes. This kid was looking for their family's treasure. Anything he could get his hands on. They couldn't let that happen. Uzumaki treasure was to remain Uzumaki treasure, and they weren't going to let some kid get his hand on them. Ashina went to his pouch that he had on the back of his waist and grabbed a kunai. When he saw the plant-like man sink into the ground to go find the treasures, he threw the kunai, aiming to try and kill the plant-like man and stop him from doing what he was told. Ashina and Kanami jumped towards the kid and plant-like man. Naruto. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the two people in front of him. "You will not go any further," Ashina said with a voice that spoke authorities. Naruto scoffed. Like you could stop us," Naruto said. "Look kid, we don't want to hurt you, so it will be better if you just leave," Kanami said. "The Uzumaki treasure will stay with the Uzumaki clan and we won't let some little kid just get his hand on them," she said. "Like I said, it's not like you could stop us," Naruto said arrogantly. "Arrogant, huh? It looks I'll have to show you some manners in how to speak those older than you," Ashina said. "Look old man, you're not young again, so if you think you can beat me, then that old age of yours really caught up to you," Naruto said with a smirk. "Kid, whoever raised I guess didn't teach you how to respect your elders," Ashina said. "And like Kanami said, we will not allow you to take the Uzumaki treasures," he said with narrowed eyes. Ashina got into a battle stance. "I will get them whether you like it or not," Naruto said as he into his whirlpool fist style. And although Ashina was surprised, so was Konami. He still focused on Naruto. Naruto vs. Ashina. Ashina shot forward trying to hit Naruto fast and knock him out. But to his surprise, Naruto dodged all his kicks and punches with ease. "You know, for an old geezer you're really fast," Naruto said. Ashina ignored him and started to see if there was anything he could use to his advantage. "I see you're trying to find any weaknesses," Naruto said. Ashina was surprised but kept a cool face. Ashina went again in throwing barrages of kicks and punches, but it was impossible. If taijutsu wasn't going to work, he might as well go to ninjutsu and afterwards fuinjutsu if the kid kept giving him a hard time. "You're good for a kid your age," Ashina said as he threw a punch to Naruto's face but was dodged by him. "Look, I have things to do, and if all you're gonna do is kick and punch me, then you might as well give up," Naruto said as he jumped up from a sweep kick that Ashina threw. Ashina finally stopped his taijutsu battle and backed away from Naruto, who still looked bored. "I'll never give up," Ashina said as he started making hand seals. Sweden. Suikoden no Jutsu, water release, water shark blast technique, Ashina called out. A shark was sent towards Naruto at a charge, attempting to strike him with extreme bashing force as well as trying to rend him with its teeth. And as the shark got closer, Naruto just stepped aside, allowing the shark to miss him. "Missed Maya by a lot," Naruto said with a smirk on his face. Ashina grunted as he started to weave hand seals for a more stronger technique. He wasn't going to allow some kid to beat him. Sweden. Suiryuden no Jutsu, water release, water dragon blast technique, Ashina called out. A huge current of water suddenly came out of the water before turning into the shape of a dragon, which is then sent towards the Naruto. Although Naruto was surprised, he quickly moved out of the way. He knew that jutsu and he did not want to end up like his clones. "You're really trying to kill me, huh?" Naruto said, amused. "Might as well entertain you." And without hand seals, Naruto suddenly called out, "Doden. Yomi Numa, earth release, swamp of the underworld." A large viscous swamp was created underneath Ashina. Ashina could see that he was stuck and couldn't move. Even with chakra on his feet, he was still stuck. He then Naruto call out again. "Doden. Tsuchi Gunjakudo no Jutsu, earth release, earth military movement technique," he called out. Ashina then saw Naruto sink into the ground, only to suddenly appear before him. "Like I said, old man, you're good but not good enough," Naruto said. Naruto's hand then went to his pouch so he could get a truth-seeking seal, but was stopped when he heard Konami call out, "Tiryu, halt." He then felt the seal get put on his back. And suddenly he couldn't exert any chakra, meaning he couldn't do any jutsu. "Like I said, kid, I didn't want to hurt you, but you left me no choice," Konami said from behind him. She then noticed Naruto's smirk and got a bad feeling come over her. "Hiraishin no Jutsu, flying thunder god technique," Naruto called out. Both Konami and Ashina saw Naruto disappear in flash of red and appear before them. "That was good fuinjutsu but not good enough," Naruto said. "You have a long way to go before you reach my level," he said with an arrogant smirk on his face. He turned around so his back was facing them and looked at Zetsu. "Have you found them?" he asked. End of battle. "Hi Naruto-sama, while you were fighting we sent out a clone to find them," Zetsu said. "They are located on the other side of the island deep within the ground. It is also surrounded by many seals in which you could easily figure out," Zetsu said. Konami and Ashina widened their eyes. They've been focused on the kid and the plant-like man, so how did he make a clone? But then they felt fear. Fear of this kid. He found what he looking and could easily unseal the seals that were on the safe. He was going to get the Uzumaki's treasure. have you placed the kunai? Naruto asked, bringing them out of their thoughts. Zetsu nodded. Hi, he said. Naruto turned around to face them once more. As much fun as this was, I have things to do and get, he said, and just as he was going to activate the seal he heard Ashina call. Wait, Ashina said to him, since we just went into battle quickly. I never got to ask one thing. Ashina paused and looked at Naruto. Who are you? He asked. Naruto was silent for a minute before he responded. You know it's rude to ask someone's name when you didn't give yours, he said, chuckling, and saw that Ashina was about to respond. He raised his hand. Might as well give it to you, but you better do the same, Naruto said, and saw them nod. Naruto spoke. As to who I am, Naruto paused before continuing. I am Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha Senju Namikaze, the son of Kushina Uzumaki, also known as Konoha no Akaishi, the Red Death of Konoha, and Minato Namikaze, also known as Konoha no Kiroi Senka, Konoha's Yellow Flash. Brother to Natsumi Uzumaki Uchiha Senju Namikaze, the Jinchuriki of Karami the Kya Bai no Yako, Nine-Tailed Fox. Grandson to Madara Uchiha and Riza Uzumaki. Also grandson to Hashirama Senju and Himeko Namikaze, he said like it was no big deal. Ashina and Kamani were a whole different story though. Ashina just had a face of pure shock with some tears running down his face. Kanami on the other hand was sobbing. Naruto, utterly confused, still said, You still haven't told me who both of you are. Ashina, still shocked and with a bit of tears still on his face, answered, My name Isa Ashina Uzumaki. Husband to Takara Uzumaki. Father to Riza Uzumaki. Also grandfather to Kanami Uzumaki Uchiha and Kushina Uzumaki Uchiha. And your great-grandfather Naruto, Ashina said to Naruto, whose eyes widened a bit. Kanami was. Despite the fact that she had tears running down her face, she spoke, My name Isa Kanami Uzumaki Uchiha. Daughter to Riza Uzumaki and Madara Uchiha. Sister to Kushina Uzumaki. Granddaughter to Takara Uzumaki and Ashina Uzumaki. And your aunt Naruto-kun, she said as Naruto's eyes widened fully. Naruto was shocked. He had living family. His aunt was alive and his great-grandfather was alive. My aunt and my great-grandfather, Naruto whispered. How did you guys survive though? Naruto asked them. Kanami was about to respond when Ashina beat her to it. We were in a safe room that only Uzumaki could enter, Ashina said. When the enemy attacked I was ready to go and fight, but my loyal guards knocked me out and your aunt and put us in the safe room. When I woke up everything and everyone was gone, and what I thought was including your mother, he said sadly. Kanami looked down. See, Naruto said. Ashina nodded and looked up to Naruto with a smile, but now I know she didn't die. 'Cause if she did then I wouldn't have been able to see my great-grandson that's right in front of me, he said. Naruto and Kanami smiled. He went over to Ashina and Kanami. And once close to them he hugged them. At least my whole family isn't dead, Naruto said with a smile. Ashina and Kanami smiled and hugged Naruto back. After the hugs Naruto stood up. Since I am assuming neither of you have seen the Uzumaki treasure, would you like to come? Naruto asked. Ashina nodded once with a smile but was excited in the inside. Kanami on the other hand was enthusiastic on both the outside and inside. The Uzumaki treasure was a place where many would die to get into. But couldn't because of the seals on it. Well, let's go, Naruto said. He grabbed on to both their shoulders and Hiri shined over to where Zetsu put the seal. Uzumaki treasure location. In a flash of red they were in front of what Naruto assumed was a vault. Naruto, Ashina, and Kanami went over to see more about the seals on the vault. They wanted to see how many and how difficult the seals were. Wow. However put the seals must really have something to hide in there, Naruto said, impressed on the seals that were on it. Ashina nodded. Yes, many believed that it was the sage of the six paths, Rakuta Sennin, who put the seals on it and his things are within the seal, but that is just legend, nobody really knows what's in there, Ashina said. Naruto still had his eyes on the vault. Sage of the six paths, Rakuta Sennin, huh? Naruto chuckled. Konami was confused as to why he was laughing. Why are you laughing, Naruto-kun? She asked. Nothing, it's just that many could have changed that legend as time passed, so you never know if it is real or not, so don't believe what you hear, Naruto said, acting like mom for a second. Ashina and Konami nodded. They knew he was right, only the owner knows what's in there. This might take 15 minutes or so while I try and unlock the seals, you guys take a walk or talk with Zetsu with whatever you want, Naruto said. These seals were hard, but it was nothing Naruto couldn't figure out. Ashina and Konami nodded. They went to Zetsu, who was already outside somehow when they were talking with Naruto. Naruto looked back at the vault and went over to see what he was working with and how difficult it would be. As he looked at the seals, he saw that they were very complicated indeed, well for any other person, but to him they were really easy. He took out sealing paper and started to write on it. He was going to see what the vault had, and if what his great-grandfather said was right, then it could help him in his mission. -17 minutes later. There were many obstacles to overcome in trying to unseal the vault. There were seals on the vault that were traps, and other seals that could have killed a person trying to get in. And he just passed them with ease like they were nothing. He must admit though, whoever had done the seals must have been great with seals, but nowhere near his level. Naruto went to the vault that was now seal-less and opened it. A huge amount of power came surging from the vault and went directly towards Naruto, who took a step back when the power came out due to him being the one to open the vault. After he composed himself, he looked straight towards what was inside of the vault but couldn't since it was dark within. He started walking forward to see if could get a better view of what was inside. He created a wooden stick from his Mokaton, wood release, and lit it with his Katon, fire release, so he would be able to see while in the vault. When he entered the vault, he couldn't believe on what he was seeing. On both sides of the vault there were two katana that he knew were just screaming out power due to his sensory skills. In the middle between the katana was a shakuho, monk staff, that was also screaming our power, only stronger than the two katana. Surrounding the katana and shakuho were what he assumed to be journals in gold with other fancy things. He went to the katana on the right and read the label it had on the bottom of the tablet holding it. It read, Katana of Indra A. Sutsuki, the Susanna no Ken, Sword of the Storm God. Naruto couldn't believe it. Right in front of him was the katana of one of his ancestors. His grandfather had taught him all about Indra. He was the elder son of Hagoromo A. Sutsuki, otherwise known as the Sage of the Six Paths, Rakuta Sennin, and the ancestor of the Uchiha clan. Indra had inheriting his father's eyes. His doja, su powers, the Sharingan, powerful chakra, and spiritual energy. From a young age, he demonstrated great talent towards ninjutsu, and anything he applied his mind to. Naruto went to the katana on the left and read the label that it had on the bottom of the tablet holding it. It read, Katana of Asura A. Sutsuki, the Kenja no Ken, Sword of Sages. Naruto's eyes popped out. Another katana of one of his ancestors. Just how more amazing could this day get? Asura was the youngest son of Hagoromo A. Sutsuki and heir to his teachings. He is also the ancestor of the Senju clan, as well as the Uzumaki clan. As a child, Asura was considered to be unskilled, much unlike his genius older brother, Indra. Over the years, through grueling hard work and dedication, plus support from his friends, Asura awakened his own power, his father's body, life force, stamina, and physical energy. Power rivaling that of his brothers as a late bloomer. This granted him a greater longevity and strong vitality, as well as the massive chakra reserves inherited by his transmigrants. And finally Naruto turned towards the Shikuho, monk's staff. This one wreaked more power than the two katanas of his ancestors, so he knew that whoever owned this one was more powerful than Asura and Indra combined. He walked forward towards the middle. He looked at the label downwards of the Shikuho and read it. It read, Shikuho of Hagoromo A Sutsuki, the sage of the six paths, Rakuta Sennin. Naruto almost fell over. Here was the Shikuho of his great ancestor. The father of the Uzumaki clan, Senju clan, and Uchiha clan. He was a legendary godlike figure who founded ninja, which led to the creation of the ninja world. He was the son of Princess Kaguya A Sutsuki, and alongside his brother Hamura A Sutsuki, were the first to be born with the same powerful chakra inherited from their mother. Both he and his brother defeated their mother, having become the terrifying Ten Tails, in battle and sealed the powerful beast within him, thus making Hagoromo the first Jincha, Riki. Naruto couldn't wait to tell the others on what he found. He just couldn't wait to see what their faces would be. No doubt that his grandfather would have a heart attack with a shocked face, his aunt would faint, and Zetsu, since he is Madara Gigi's will, there is no doubt that he would have a shocked face. -3 minutes later. Ashina, Kanami, and Zetsu came back. Ashina and Kanami learned everything in Naruto's life from Zetsu while he was working on trying to unseal the vault. To say by the end of Zetsu's explanation of Naruto's life they were happy with Naruto. He was doing all of this to protect his mother and sister, something in which was the cause of his Uzumaki blood. Uzumaki were known to always put their family first than others. Though they were angry at the same. Konoha was that cause of this whole thing, the reason Naruto can't talk his family or those he cares about. Konoha had been the reason why their clan was gone, Kushina and Natsumi can't see their family, and the reason why Naruto basically lost his childhood, making him grow up fast. When they came back they saw the vault open. They started to look for him inside of the vault to see if he was there and were glad to see he was, but were confused on why he had a shocked face. Gladly Zetsu asked for them. Naruto-sama, is there something that made you look shocked? He asked. Naruto turned to look at them, though he still had the same shocked face. I think it would be better if you guys saw this, Naruto said as he gestured them to come forth. Kanami, anxious on wanting to know why he had that face, went quickly. Ashina, though he was anxious, went over to where Naruto was gesturing calmly. Zetsu, though one side really wanted to know, the other was just calm. Once arriving they saw the two katana and Shikuho. And just like Naruto, due to Uzumaki's being censor, felt the power radiating out of the three of them, but mostly the Shikuho. What are these, Naruto-kun? Kanami said, pointing at the katana and Shikuho. Naruto, coming over his shock, pointed at the one in the right and said, that katana is the Susanna no Ken, sword of the storm god, the katana of Indra A Sutsuki, Naruto said, shocking Kanami, Asuna, and Zetsu. They were about to speak up when Naruto continued. Naruto pointed to the katana on the left. That katana is the Kenja no Ken, sword of sages, the katana of Ashura A Sutsuki, he said, shocking the three again. And finally Naruto pointed at the Shikuho in the middle and said, that one is the one that is more powerful than the other two, and for a reason, Naruto said as the three turned to look at Naruto with a shocked yet curious look. He saw that and spoke, that Shikuho is the Shikuho of Hagoromo A Sutsuki, the sage of the six paths, Rakuta Sennin, Naruto said as he looked at the three. Kanami fainted. Ashina was on the point of having a heart attack. And as for Zetsu, he was already passed. How? Ashina said, getting over his shock after a few minutes. I don't know it, but I have my guesses, Naruto said. Naruto looked over to Konami and sighed, going over to her. And with no hand seals, water came out of his mouth and sprayed all over Konami, instantly waking her up. What happened? She said, and saw Naruto laugh at her. She looked down and saw her clothes were soaking wet. She gained a tick mark and went over to Naruto, who was still laughing, and hit him on the head. After 5 minutes they all got themselves together. So what now? Konami asked. Naruto shrugged, as did Ashina. I don't know, Naruto said. Well, deal with this later and figure something out, Naruto said as he looked over to Zetsu and said, Zetsu, can you seal them away for me? Zetsu nodded and went over to the katanas and Shikuho and brought out a sealing paper to try and seal the 3 legendary things, but shocked on the outcome that came in trying to seal them. Once trying to seal them, he was instantly blown back and hit the wall. The others were shocked and ran to try and help Zetsu. What happened? Konami asked. Ashina got into a thinking pose. What happened indeed? He looked over to the katanas and narrowed his eyes. Zetsu eventually stood back up and responded to their question. It was as if they didn't want to be touched, because the moment we was 3 feet away we got blown away, Zetsu said. Naruto, Konami, and Ashina narrowed their eyes. Naruto looked over to Ashina and said, Gigi, why don't you try? Naruto said. Ashina nodded and went over to try and seal the 3 things, but like Zetsu got the same results. When he was 3 feet away from the things he was instantly blown away and would have hit the wall if Naruto didn't catch him. Damn. The same result, Naruto said as he looked over to Konami and spoke, your turn, Oba-chan. Konami nodded and went over to the 3 things like Zetsu and Ashina did. Once getting 3 feet away, she was blown away just like the 2 that came before her. Lucky for her, Naruto saved her, though if you would see closer on her face you could see a tiny blush on her. Damn. The same thing happened again, Naruto cursed. Ashina looked towards Naruto and said, Naruto-kun, why don't you try? Naruto looked over to Ashina and nodded. After putting Konami down on her feet, he started walking towards the 3 legendary things. Once he was 4 feet away, he stopped. He looked back towards Ashina, Konami, and Zetsu. You guys ready? He asked and saw them nod. Naruto took a step forward, ready for the force that would be awaiting him, but was surprised that didn't. He looked back towards Ashina, Konami, and Zetsu only to see them have a surprised face. Looking back to the legendary things of his ancestors, he started walking forward. Once close enough, he was about to seal the things, but quickly came out a thought, and instead of sealing them he reached his hand out to try and touch them. Though the action quickly surprised the 3 behind Naruto, they said nothing and let him go on to see what would happen. Naruto reached for the Susanoo no Ken, sword of the storm god, and awaited to see if there was any action when he tried to reach the sword, but there wasn't. He grabbed the hilt of the katana and instantly felt power from the sword come surging through his body. It felt wonderful, but that wasn't the only thing that he felt. No, he felt a burning sensation on his left hand. He put the sword down back on the tablet and quickly saw what was it that was burning his left hand. Though what he saw surprised him. On his left palm was a dark-colored, crescent moon-like marking. The power was basically radiating out of it. Naruto looked back towards the 3 behind him and saw that they were looking at him surprised due to the power that came when he touched the katana. He looked back at the katana of Indra and picked it to then strap it on his back, with it leaning towards Naruto's left side. Naruto then looked to the right towards Asura's katana. Once going towards it, he grabbed the hilt of the katana just like he did to Indra's, and the same result happened. He grabbed hilt of the Kenja no Ken, sword of sages, and felt the power of the sword instantly come surging through his body, just like what happened before with the Susanna no Ken, sword of the storm god. He felt the burning sensation on his right hand this time. He put the sword down back on the tablet and quickly looked down to see what mark it was this time. Though this time instead of a crescent moon it was different. On his left palm was a light-colored, sun-like marking. He grabbed the katana and strapped it on his back like he did with Indra's, but instead of it leaning towards the left it was leaning towards the right. And finally Naruto turned towards the shakuho of the Sage of the Six Paths, Rakuda Sennin. He looked towards the middle and started walking forward. This power that he was feeling from the shakuho was even more powerful than the two katanas. Naruto soon found himself in front of the shakuho. After a few seconds of admiring the work done on the shakuho, he started to reach and grab it. Naruto grabbed the shakuho by the middle of it. And just like what happened before with Asura's and Indra's katanas, power quickly came surging through him, though instead of a burning sensation he just saw his vision change. His vision was even more clearer than it was with his Sharingan. Wanting to what it was that made his vision change, he turned around to Ashina, Konami, and Zetsu. Ashina, Konami, and Zetsu gasped on seeing his eyes. What they saw was a ripple-like pattern which spreads over both eyeballs, with light purple sclerae and irides. Zetsu, Ashina, and Konami instantly thought one thing once seeing the eyes of Naruto. They thought, the Rinnegan, Sa-sa-ra-I. Ashina eventually spoke up out of the three, "En Naruto-kun, my boy, how do you have the Rinnegan, Sa-sa-ra-I?" he asked. Naruto went wide-eyed when he heard Ashina. He quickly digged into his pouch and pulled out a kunai. He brought up to his eyes and almost fell onto what he saw. His eyes weren't the same purple eyes as before and instead were now the legendary Dojutsu of the Sage of the Six Paths, Rakuda Sennin. He had awoken the Rinnegan, Sa-sa-ra-I. Naruto looked toward the three and spoke. I think it happened when I touched the shakuho," Naruto said. Ashina nodded. It seems that the power within the shakuho awakened your bloodline. Though instead of your eyes hurting it just awakened naturally with no effects, he said. The others nodded in understanding. Then Konami brought up another topic. Wait, why didn't you get blown away like the rest of us? She asked. I don't know, Naruto said as he shrugged his shoulders. Konami, Asuna, Naruto and Zetsu all start thinking of why didn't Naruto get blown away like the rest of them. Did they do something wrong? Or did the swords just not like them? All while thinking of different scenarios, none of them noticed three spirit figures appear out of nowhere right from behind Naruto. I believe I can answer that, a strong yet calm voice was heard behind Naruto. Naruto, Ashina, Zetsu, and Konami all turned around to meet four people they wouldn't have thought they would ever meet. Because right in front of them was Hagoromo A. Sutsuki, known to the world at large as the Sage of the Six Paths, Rakuda Sennin. The legendary god-like figure who founded Ninja, which led to the creation of the ninja world. The son of Princess Kaguya A. Sutsuki and alongside his brother Hamura A. Sutsuki, were the first to be born with the same powerful chakra inherited from their mother. Asura A. Sutsuki, the youngest son of Hagoromo A. Sutsuki and heir to his teachings. He is also the ancestor of the Senju clan, as well as the Uzumaki clan. Indra A. Sutsuki, the elder son of Hagoromo A. Sutsuki and the ancestor of the Uchiha clan. And lastly Hamura A. Sutsuki, the son of Princess Kaguya A. Sutsuki, the twin brother of Hagoromo A. Sutsuki. Both of whom were the first two born with the ability to wield chakra. Hamura was also the ancestor of the Hyuga clan and the founder of the Shinobi of the Moon. It's nice to finally meet you, the child of the prophecy, Yoga no Ko. Hagoromo said, shocking Naruto, Ashina, Konami, and surprisingly Zetsu. Asura, Indra, and Hamura just nodded. Naruto had only one thought going through his mind. This day just keeps getting better, better and crazier.
This was it for today. To watch next part, subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. Till then, see you next time.